Hi friends, how's your day? I just recorded this entire video with no microphone, so this one will be better for you. You're welcome. Here we go. All right, so we are adding scenery into our AVT theater project. And the first thing I want to talk to you about, and this may look slightly different from yours because I've been messing with it. I had to undo myself back to before I did all of the assigning of the work. So before we get started, I want to do one more thing in my initial theater building step, and then we'll start building scenery for a specific show. So I went and launched my SketchUp, and I opened up my AVT theater project that I've been working on recently. And the first thing I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to look at this theater space that I built last time. Yay, it's great, it's beautiful. And we're going to paint the walls and the risers a darker gray, right? Because, I don't want to go all the way to black, because if we go all the way to black, it'll be harder to see what we're doing. So we're just going to choose a dark gray, and I'm going to do that using the materials tool. So if you come over here, there's this little picture with a checkerboard on it, a little block with a checkerboard on it, and there's a whole slew of materials. There are two boxes, right? There's a box that says with a little house on it. When you click on that, you'll see materials that are already in use in the project. And when you click on the searchy tool, you'll get materials that are available to you in SketchUp. So we're gonna just come into the colors. We're gonna scroll down and we're gonna pick a gray that is not all the way black. Maybe we'll do 2 steps down from all the way black. And we're going to paint the walls this color gray. So the nice thing is we've already got things grouped together. And when we click with the paint bucket on a thing in a group, it will turn the whole group that color. So we're just going to paint bucket all of our risers and our walls dark gray. Done. Great. Beautiful. Okay. So now our theater is basically done. I'm going to hit the space bar to get my pointer back. This is now an empty theater space, okay? And I would probably want to turn on my alternate walls and paint them gray and then turn them back off, but we're going to just call this good for now. I'm going to save it. So first I save it as the AVT theater, and then I'm going to come in and save as a copy of this file. And the reason I'm doing this is because I may want to build another set in this theater someday. And if I save a copy, then it'll be easy for me to come in the next time I want to do a show in this space and just put the new set into it. So I'm going to come in here and save as. We're going to call this Red Ink, right, which is the name of the show at AVT. So it's the Red Ink design at the AVT theater. Okay, great. It wants a place to put it. We're going to put it in that folder with the rest of our stuff, and it's going to save it, and now we're good. Okay, so the next step is to add some scenery, right, for Red Ink in particular. And the information about the set you'll find in Schoology in this folder called Red Ink Design. So when you click into that folder, you will see things like the drafting, a wall elevation. You'll see paint textures, so a paint elevation for the floor and newspaper texture for the newspaper wall. We're going to start by opening up this Red Ink drafting PDF. And if you have printing technology, print this out. It'll be easier for you to look at it, right? So here's the scenic design. So you'll see there's a floor with a checkerboard vinyl flooring, linoleum floor. And then you'll see there's this newspaper covered wall. And the outside of the theater walls is all painted this lighter gray, okay? So we're going to now go in and make those 3 items, a floor, a vertical wall, and the gray exterior walls. So let's come back into SketchUp for School. So we're going to start with the floor. So I need to know the size of it, and that's right here, 12 feet by 22 feet and half an inch. So we're just going to say 12 feet by 22 feet. I'm going to come back over into SketchUp for Schools, and I'm going to draw this floor with the rectangle tool. I'm going to do it outside of my theater box just so that it stays separate and is easy. I come over here, I draw it. I know it wants to be 12 feet by 22 feet, and I hit enter, and there's the floor item. Okay, great. So the next thing I'll do is group that together, just like we were doing last time. So I select all of the floor parts, and I say make you a group, and now it's a group. The next thing I'll do is move it into the theater space, and I'll want to put it all the way into this corner first, and then I'll move it to exactly where I want it. So when I come in and I look, and it's like I'm looking at this dimension right here. It's like 3 foot, 3 7/8. We're going to say 3 feet, 4 inches from that side wall. So let's go ahead and move it into that location. So I hit my M button to get my move tool. And now I can pick it up by this corner, and I will just snap this corner to that spot. Then I'll pick it up by the face, and I'll move it that 3 foot, 4 inches, and I'll hit enter. And now there it is. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? The floor is doing this like scritchy scratchy crazy thing every time I move, right? And it's not showing up perfectly, right? Sometimes it's invisible, sometimes it's partially visible. The way we're going to correct that is we're going to actually make it have a little thickness to it, okay? Because right now it's sort of intersecting with the bottom floor of the theater. Not great for us. So we want to give it a little thickness, and that'll help it kind of sit up on top of that theater floor. So the way I'm going to do that is with my push-pull tool again, right, that I've used before. First, I'm going to pick up my space bar, and I'm going to enter into that group by double-clicking on that floor object. So everything else turns light green. That means I'm not going to accidentally mess with anything else. I grab my push-pull tool, right, or I hit the P key, and we're going to just make it 1/4 of an inch thick, okay? So it's very thin, but it's enough that when we're out here, right, we no longer have that problem where it's like scritchy intersecting with the existing floor of the theater. So the next thing I want to do now is I want to make it that checkerboard pattern, right? I want to make it look like this one in the model. And the way I do that is I come back out into this folder, and we have a paint elevation, right? So this is an image file that is that checkerboard pattern that we used for the floor. So I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to save it to my computer, or you can download it. We're going to put it on the desktop so it's easy to find. I don't need to keep it on there for too long. While I'm downloading things, I'm also going to download this newspaper texture for later. All right, so now I have those 2 textures on my desktop for when I need them. Make that pop up in a little folder. Great. Okay, so next thing is let's put this on our floor. So I do need to double click again, so I'm inside of that floor. And now I'm going to bring in that custom material. And the quickest way to do it is to come out here. See, like I have all these windows. Just come out here and grab it from my desktop and drag it into the project. So I'll say floor layout PNG, drag you in. And it's like, do you want to come in as a material or as an image? And I would like it to come in as a material, please. Okay, so now it's a material, and you get a little paint bucket, right? And we're gonna just click on that one side and the other side. And that should now paint bucket that material onto the floor, right? Let's look and see. Looks great. If you have trouble with this, right, it's cool. It's possible it's stuck on the wrong side of the floor or something. So if it doesn't work right away, what you want to do is you want to go in again, right, and look in your materials tab. And now in the house, down at the bottom, you have the material that you need, okay? So you can do things with this material. You can edit it using this edit tool, right, to change how big it is, right? So like the width would be not this huge number, but like 12 feet by 22 feet, right? And you can change how it works. But this one has already been fit exactly to that floor, so we don't have to mess with it. But if you have trouble, just let me know. I can help you through those steps to clean up that piece of material. Boom! She's a floor. Great. What's next? Let's do the newspaper wall. So the newspaper wall, look, I'm going to look at it in the show. See, there's like this wall covered in newspapers, and they go busting through it during the play. Neat. So we want to see how big it is. We're going to do that by looking at the wall elevation. So the wall elevation is actually showing the back of the flat, but all we really need are the overall dimensions, right? We're never going to see the back of the flat in this model. So we just need to know that it's 7 feet tall and 11 feet across. Okay, great. Let's go build this wall. I'm again going to build it outside of my theater space. Okay. Hand tool. Let's get over here so I have a little room. And the trick is going to be to get it to draw on the right axis, okay? Because like if I start drawing this rectangle, it really wants to stick it on the ground. That's not what I want, right? I want to be on this green axis, right? I don't want to be on this blue colored thing. I want to make a green colored thing, okay? So, and that's like on the blue axis, but it turns green, right? See how the line I'm pointing at the screen, like you can see me doing that. So the line turns green. Once the line turns green, type in your dimensions, okay? So we're going to type in 7 feet, comma, 11 feet, and hit enter. And now we've created this wall. It seems a little bit the wrong direction, right? It's like this way instead of that away. No problem. I will come in and rotate it, right? So if I get my move tool out, moves around, there is inside of it a rotate tool. So now I can rotate, right? And I want to just rotate until it snaps to its friend. Great. Okay. So now we're looking better. I do want to select it and group it like we did before. Let's make that a group. And then we're going to push pull tool like we did before. So we're going to give it a little thickness. Let's just make it like 1 inch thick. So not a lot, but a little bit. And lastly, we want to put that newspaper on there, right? Same process again, okay? So let's go back out into Finder. Let's grab our newspaper, bring it on in here. Material, please. There it is. And we're going to stick it onto this wall. So click. And then the thing I'm going to do with this newspaper, right, because this is like a little bit over scale, is instead of making it the full size of the wall, I'm actually going to kind of scale it down. So it's like a little smaller than the wall, and that means that it will make the whole thing filled, but it will scale it down smaller. So if I click kind of here, right, now it fills the wall with that smaller scale version. Great. So now I can click back out of here, and now I have a newspaper wall. Cool, right? It's a little bit sitting in the ground, but we'll fix that in a second. So now I hit my move tool with my M key. And I want to pick it up from the center, the midpoint of the group, and I'm going to bring it over and snap it to the midpoint of my floor, right? Because if you look at that floor, at that red ink drafting, we have newspaper wall is right here, permanent wall covered in newspaper. There it is. And it is 2 foot 6 inches from the back wall, and it's like centered in that floor, okay? So we're going to do that next, all right? So you're going to pick it up from bottom center, midpoint in group, bring it to midpoint in group of the floor, right? Then we're going to pick it up again. Uh-oh, I picked up the whole theater. Nope. So now we're going to move it, and this is where it helps that it has some thickness, right? We're going to move it down to where we want it, okay? So I'm going to just zoom in a little bit so I can see it. Pick up my move tool, pick up my wall, bring it on that green axis, 2 foot 6 inches. There it is, floating wall. Great, okay, cool. So now we have floor, wall. Next step is to paint the theater walls, okay? So if you look at the theater walls, they're painted not all the way up to the top, but part of the way, right? Taller than this little newspaper wall, not quite as tall as this pink thing, pink curtain situation. We'll get there. So let's move, let's say that that's about 10 feet tall since I don't have a paint elevation for it. And we're going to add in this paint color now on the 3 walls. You can't see the third one, but this wall over here is also painted. So let's do that. SketchUp. Let's do that, SketchUp. Let's do it. So we're going to paint these walls, these 3 walls, part of this one, this back wall, and that one in that color. The first thing I'm going to do is hit my space bar, go into the group for the theater space. So now I'm inside the theater space group. Great. I'm going to get my pencil tool. I'm going to draw an invisible line, right, because it's on top of an existing line, and I'm going to make it 10 feet tall. 10 feet. Great. So now there is an invisible spot to go to that's 10 feet at the end of that line. So now I can click on that, and I can go across, and if it's the red color, I know I'm going straight across, right? And let's rotate around a little bit. We're going to go right into that corner with a straight across red line. Click. Okay. Same thing with this little wall here, right? Click on there, straight across, this time a green line. Click. You can see what you're doing on the outside too, right? Because it's only one piece. What we're doing is dividing up this wall into smaller pieces, right? So that it's possible for us to materials paint the bottom a different color from the top. So I'm going to come over here now and do this last wall, which is a little different because it doesn't actually go all the way back. It just kind of ends before the chairs. So I just want to get to where I can see that pretty well. And then I'm going to grab my pencil again, start at the same spot, go straight across, end a little bit before the chairs, and then I'll do the same thing coming down the blue axis. Okay, great. So now I have these pieces of wall. They're all designated. Okay, great, wonderful. And we can material paint them, right? So we can get some gray. We can paint them that lighter gray color. It's not exactly the right color. If you want to get exactly the right color, you can go into Photoshop and make yourself a swatch for that material. But for our purposes, that's great. So now I can click outside of it, lock it in, and that is my next step done. Great. I love it. It's beautiful. Hit save. It's saving, it's saving, it's saving. And then once you've done that, you can submit for me either a PNG of this, right? So you can come over here and you can either export and download a PNG of what yours looks like, or you can just download the whole file and submit that as your project, okay? I love it. Great, wonderful. That's it. And let me know if you have any questions, and I will try and dig you out of whatever hole you've gotten yourself into. All right. Thanks, friends. Bye.